Hello, everybody. Welcome to another Topcoder webinar. We are joined by IBM today. So thank you so much. This is actually the first time we are live on the Topcoder My Dashboard page too. So if you're watching there, hello. And just to let you know, if you want to join in on the conversation, if you want to join in on the chat room, what everyone's talking about, and if you want to ask questions to the people involved on this call, you can go ahead to our YouTube video site there and join in. Right now, I'm going to turn you over to James Cori, who's our community architect, and he will be introducing our guests as well. All right, James, take it away.
All right, thanks, Nick. So today we have with us, we're lucky enough to have with us some members from IBM. Myself, James Cori, technical architect for the community. I manage the cognitive community. I manage the blockchain initiative with IBM and work with IBM a lot. We're lucky enough to have with us today two of the members who are working on the IBM developer journey. So we're going to talk today about what their offering brings, what they can provide to us, and how we can use them in the community with all the either IBM projects or even larger client projects. So Amol, you want to start? Introduce yourself?
Sure. Thanks, Nick. Thanks, James. So let me start by introducing myself. My name is Amol Jadhav. I'm the Vice President at IBM, where I lead the product management and the engineering team for what we call as developer journeys or code patterns. So I'll start by giving you an overview about what a developer journey is or a code pattern is, whom we are catering towards, what kind of different flavors of developer journeys we create. And then after that, my colleague, Manuel, will walk you through an example about a developer journey and the assets that we create as a part of journey creation. So a developer journey or a code pattern, it's at the core of IBM's commitment to developers. They create a connection, both technical and emotional, by engaging the developer through shared experiences and desire to innovate and improve. The code patterns are a 360-degree views of code. They provide access to code as well as supporting content, such as architecture diagram, videos, live demonstrations, blog posts, tutorials, etc. The goal of these code patterns is to engage developers and create an attachment and a pull. The developers who have followed a code pattern or a journey will want to use this technology that we have demonstrated. The developer journey is much more than just a sum of its part. It provides a context, a substance, and a vision for a technology. And it's all rooted in a real-life developer pain point or a need. We have few different types of journey flavors or code pattern flavors, just to give you understanding. We have something that we call as on-ramp journeys. These are a bite-sized code assets that we create. And the goal of them is to show the art of the possible. They show the new features and functionality and introduce new ways of thinking of existing solutions. They are targeted at both enterprise as well as startup ISV developers who like to bring the first to try new technologies and approaches, the ones who love to play with new toys. So those kind of journeys are catered towards that audience. Then we have something called as solution journeys. These journeys or code patterns are like run in the production examples. They try to describe much more of a real-world implications of deploying code publicly. They talk about how developers who already understand the fundamental differences between production code and demos or proof of concepts. These code patterns give them the need to know information and the best practices to run their code in production. And again, these journeys are also catered towards our startup, enterprise, ISVs, and different kind of developer segments. So with that, I will hand it over to Manuel, who will walk you through example about what are the collateral that we create as a part of this developer journeys or developer code patterns. Over to you, Manuel.
All right. Hey guys. So, am I supposed to see myself, or can I just get started?
You can get started.
Right.
You can either do that or, well, introduce yourself first, and what you do with journeys, and also my question to Amol and you before you or while you're introducing it would be, where do these journeys come from? Are they projects that IBM kind of start with, and then you kind of generify them to use in the larger audience or something like that? But please introduce yourself to the community.
Absolutely. Hey guys, so I'm Manuel Silveira. I am part of the team of the advocacy team in IBM, and like Amal mentioned, what we do is we sort of, our job is to communicate, to sort of externalize the developer journeys out to the world. And as a little bit of background, I come from the open source world. I come from the Linux world, from the cloud world, and we've been, in IBM, you always had a bunch of hackers and a bunch of hardcore people that were having fun working with the community and outreaching and just being the part of our day-to-day life. And what we saw is that we always knew that we could do better in getting excitement and getting stuff out to people in the world so they could play with it and try new things. And it was one of those things that in the last year, in the last year, we've had the opportunity to start building something that's different and something that's new and something that we're really excited about. And what that is we're building what we're calling developer journeys. And as Amal said, this starts with a core of open source code that we place on GitHub and we make available to everyone. And on that code, we build around it a lot of, we basically build this context around it so that you understand what's the code, you understand what it does, what it means, why we were building it, and then we're showing you demos, architectures, videos, everything around it so that you can then get a better feel for it. And sort of we always thought that we saw the world, we saw what everyone was doing. We always thought, you know what, as a developer, as an open source developer, as somebody who consumes this technology, we always had this wish list of things that we'd like to see. And so we had the opportunity to build something like that. And this is what we really want to show you. So let me share my screen and let me give you a tour of can you guys see my screen?
Yep, I see IBM Code.
All right, awesome. And so here is the home page. And the first thing you'll see is that, we have obviously the header, but we have a quick link to get us to our GitHub, to get us to our page, to our journeys page. And journeys, again, we're building journeys in a bunch of different categories and different topics and types of technologies. And so the first thing that you do, you can see is that we have quick links to see our cloud journeys, to see our analytics journeys, our AI journeys, or see all the journeys. Then we have a couple featured journeys. These are some of the newer ones that have come out. The next section is our featured technology section. Here we're just talking about some of we have about 20 technologies, and here are a couple of the ones that we're excited about this week. One thing that makes this unique is that in addition to journeys, we're also focusing on open source projects, right? One of the things that we've been really bad at IBM is sort of communicating what code we've contributed and made open source, right? A lot of people know that we're working with people with open source communities like Kafka or Cloud Foundry or Docker, but people aren't necessarily aware that we're open sourcing a lot of stuff, a lot of cool and exciting stuff. And so here we sort of talk about that section, those projects that we've open sourced. And then finally on the home page, you see our information on our recent blog post. upcoming events and stuff about our recent tweets. By the way, a quick plug: we're at IBM Code if you want to follow us on Twitter. So if we go to let me start off by showing you, like, if you click on the See All Journeys or click on Journeys up here, that brings you to this archive page. Here we have, you can sort the journeys off by their categories. These categories are their technologies. So this is a journey-focused, journey-centric view of our complete list. Right now we have, 3 pages of these, about 40-something journeys that we've been putting out. We're on, this is really important to us, and this is really interesting work for us. And so we're actually on a schedule of putting out about 3 or 4 a week. And so if you come back every week, you'll see new content, new journeys being published. And I think you mentioned, James, I think you mentioned earlier about, like, you were curious about how these get selected. Well, the truth is that we basically look at all the technologies out there, all of the interesting stuff that's open source, that our developers are excited about, and we do some internal discussions, and if we find something that's interesting and that we think is cool, because at the end of the day, we really are developers, and this is sort of, like I said, the inmates are running this asylum. We find something that's interesting, something that's cool, and then we'll go into it and we'll create an interesting piece of code. And like Amol said, this could be either a piece of demonstration sample, or it could be something that we feel could be used in production. And so we build this and we expose it to the world. And the whole point of this is that this isn't driven, this isn't driven by bottom line or other ideas. This is just what we find exciting and we find interesting. And so you'll see, for example, there's a bunch on blockchain, Hyperledger, on Istio, which we recently announced with Google, and the cognitive. So all of this is interesting stuff, and the idea is that you get the code and you can immediately start working with it. And so I'll give you an example. This is decentralized energy with Hyperledger Composer. So the idea here is that allows you to build a blockchain app that you can then interact with, right? And so this is the journey page, right? A couple interesting things. We have information, some information from GitHub, the number of watchers, stargazers, and forks. So this was just started this week. If you go to get the code, it sends you to the GitHub page where you have all the information, all the sources available, the instructions on how to set this up. Everything is here. And again, this is very developer-centric. So if you wanna get started immediately, you click on Get the Code and you can get started. Next, if you want to view a demo, we have a link to a video that you can then view. And if you're interested in getting more context and more a greater understanding of the journey, then we have a quick overview section that describes what this particular journey is. And the idea is that it sort of gives you a little bit of our thinking behind why we created this and what it does. We have an architecture flow. In this case, it's a very simple linear flow. I'll show you a couple others that are a little bit more complex. But then we have a description of what are the steps in the architecture, what are the flows for this application. You know what, one of the pet peeves I had personally was when I would go to websites, sometimes I would get to the website and it would have some interesting code, but then when I tried to actually do something, I didn't fully understand how everything related to each other. So we spent a lot of time doing that. Then the next interesting thing that we have is we're a section on the included components. These are these components here. And then what are the technologies featured here? But then in order to to help build the context and the stuff that's around this, we have the related blogs, which again allow us to have more context, and the related links. and these are, you know, external links to interesting to the content that may provide more context to this journey to help flesh it out, right? Let me show you another journey. This one has a little bit more complex architecture, but as you can see, this is, in a sense, it's a simpler flow. Well, first of all, I'll stop there. Do we have any questions here?
So the journeys that you're showing, they're in Git. What do you expect a user to do? Do you expect them to use it as a basis of a project that, you know, it could be used towards, or is it purely learning? Like what's the next step there?
Right. That's a really good question. And you know, one of the, again, as a developer, one of the issues that I saw is that you would have, a lot of times you would have applications or sample code that was really good, that described a happy path. What we thought is that, you know, there's value for that, and that sort of tutorial content is valuable and meaningful, but we wanted to go a couple steps beyond that. And we basically thought of two scenarios and where we sort of position our code, right? The first scenario is a sample code that you can take and take it as the base, sort of as a scaffolding for your project. And so it could take you, for example, on the cognitive ones or on the blockchain ones, it gets you all set up. You're able to see how error handling works, how the flow works, how things are supposed to work. You know, all of these have integrated tests, have error handling, and so you're seeing what a best practice is for an application, and so it gets you much more than the sample that we're trying to demonstrate. It actually gets you you can actually see what we feel is a best practice for this. But then beyond that, we actually we're building, and we're building some journeys to actually be meant to be used as the basis where you build production applications on top of. And so we have this whole concept of having this be real code that you can then take and either extend or take and build on top of. Okay. So then let me bring you now. Let me show you our technology section. And again, this if you click on the section, it takes you to, you can see more information, see the related journeys, but also see the related open projects. But what I want to show here is sort of, this is sort of the fun stuff that we like building, and this is the technologies that our advocates or developers are excited about. And so you see, for example, gaming. Believe it or not, like, we're really excited about like containers and data science. And so we have like all these sections, all of these technologies, and virtual reality. We've actually done a bunch of stuff on virtual reality and gaming. Yesterday we had a Twitch live coding event related to some cognitive work that we've done with StarCraft. And so it's, you know, the team is just doing stuff that we find is cool, that we think other people will also find cool. Then let me move over to the open source section. Again, on this section, our idea is that we talk about projects that these are net new contributions to open source. And again, we have links to the blogs related to that, and links to the projects. And right now, there are about, I don't know, I think it's over 100 projects right now that IBM has recently open sourced. A couple of the big ones, like a couple of the interesting ones, are like this application metrics for Swift, and I don't know if you guys have seen, there's something called the TJ bot, which is this little cardboard Raspberry Pi project that allows you to do cognitive tasks with it. You know, and like I said, this whole, everything here, everything that we're doing is based on advocacy. we're sort of reinventing the way that IBM deals and reaches out and communicates with the community. And one of at the heart of the journeys, at the heart of IBM Code, is this concept of developer advocacy. And so here, if you click on advocates, it has a list of some of our advocates. And, you know, we have 7 pages of this and growing. And all of these are, you know, a lot of these people used to be or still contribute to open source projects like, you know, like Kafka, Elasticsearch, Docker, OpenStack. And these are all people that are working all over the world to, you know, to help communicate and sort of convey our excitement for the technology and get the word out. If you click on events, you'll see a list of our events, a list of our blogs up here, and then finally we have this this piece of this section of the site called the community section, and we've sort of did a quick introduction a couple of weeks ago, and now we're working to add a lot of putting a lot of attention into this community section. And what you'll see here, if you keep checking, is that we're building really a program where we want to reach out and work with the community and make it easier for the community to speak with our advocates and make it easier for our advocates to work with the community. And so we love the idea of we're coming from a world of meetups and talking and working directly with the community, and we want to make it easier for us to present at your meetups, for you to present our content, for us to get ideas from you, for us to get, if you want to share your ideas with our community, we want to make that easy. And anyway, so there's a lot of effort going into this, and we're going to have some fun stuff to share soon. But for now, the community section allows you to find events, to speak with, to find advocates, to get some how-tos and some information like that. And again, we have some of our superhero advocates here from all over the world. And then at the end, we have a section with some social and videos, and then some of our events where our advocates will be showing up soon. So at a high level, this is what we're thinking with the site with IBM Code. It's again our reimagining of what we think advocacy should be, and we built this for a constituency of developers, which is what we are.
That's great. So for Topcoder and as part of the initiatives that I'm running, the cognitive community will be doing a challenge actually next week. I believe we're going to launch it. We don't have a date yet, but using image recognition training with Power AI notebooks, which is one of your journeys.
Yep.
That should be that'll be the good first foray where a challenge spec says start with this journey and learn from that. But do you have any guidance for developers on what to expect with that, or how to use it, or anything like that?
I can tell you that I've seen I'm personally really interested in these cognitive ones, and it's really interesting that the fact that if you look at the code, like I mentioned before, one of my pet peeves was that you would see like a given product or project, and you went online and you found sample code. The sample code always was like this crazy happy path where it didn't include test cases, didn't include error checking. It was just simple code, and the reason was that a lot of people are trying to make boil to get to the main message. But what we wanted to do, and if you look at those journeys specifically, there's a really rich amount of content that describes how to build it, that describes how the communication, the error checking, the test cases, everything is included. And because we're running this on GitHub, you're actually able to, if you find a bug or have a suggestion, there is, GitHub gives us this great idea, this great capacity for you to open issues, to submit pull requests, and the idea is that these are living things. It's not something that we put out on to the world and let it die. We're sort of, these are our babies, and we want these to sort of grow and evolve. And for us, is in the cloud world, as services change, as things change, we really want to keep these current. So we're constantly checking to make sure everything's active, everything works, and as soon as something changes or is modified, we go in and update the code. So we're happy to work with the teams to work with the world to take suggestions and improvements and incorporate that into the code.
Yeah. So just to add here, as you saw for each developer journey, we create a very good collateral. It is not just a code that we create and just put it out there. We have this architecture diagram. We have the details around technology that makes up the journey. If people are new to the technology, then they can have easy links which says read more to understand the technology. And the most important piece is that this code is available for free on GitHub. Any developer, enterprise, startup, ISV can come, fork it, and start using it because we want developers to benefit from it. And the other piece is we have taken a very neutral stance in terms of these code patterns or developer journeys. So again, the goal for us is to win hearts and minds of developers. And it would not be won by putting just IBM products right front and center. It's won by taking a developer pain point or a use case or a need as right front and center. And then we use technologies that will help them best achieve that. So that's an important piece, that we're helping developers and not trying to make a sales pitch for IBM products and services as a part of our developer advocacy mission.
Yeah.
I think that's great. I know that working with the IBM blockchain team and their focus on Hyperledger and stuff, that it definitely is, we want to foster the community and stuff like that. And I think the energy behind that is definitely great.
Yeah.
So my only other question about developer journeys for you is, when is my quantum computing journey going to come out?
We have it on our queue. So other piece I want to talk here is that, as you know, there are lots of technologies, and you brought up the quantum as example. You talked about cognitive. We are also prioritizing these journeys every day. We are looking at main focus areas around cognitive. We are looking at areas around data science, analytics. We are looking at infrastructure, cloud, Kubernetes, containers. At the same time, we're also looking at emerging technology. We're looking at new other areas that we can probably go and build more things, like quantum is one of those. We also have journeys that are aligned with blockchain, IoT. So we're building out great content, which is tied to all these different areas, which will get developers excited about it. But more importantly, it will help them in terms of addressing a pain point need or just understand the art of the possible.
No, and it's funny that you mentioned quantum computing, because if you go to the homepage, like to the IBM Code, there's on the open source projects is QuizKit, which is exactly that. And like that's also, like, to me, that one's like science fiction. It's beyond just cool stuff. That's really the like future stuff. I think we're working on the teleportation one next.
Yeah, I'm actually talking to the quantum team about doing some dev assets, so I'd like to keep you guys in the loop with that, because I'd love to build those kinds of journeys with you guys. And
no,
I think
absolutely. And I was just going to say that you mentioned that, and we'd love to have, like, if people have ideas and code and all that, we'd love to work with you and put that as part of these journeys. It's like right now we're building them, but because it's a chicken and egg thing, so we're building them first. But our hope is that when the community has great ideas and has great energy to build these, we'd love to host them.
Great. Yeah, that'll be great. So I think that's pretty much it. I think we did some good topics on this. I think the image recognition training challenge that comes out next week with the journey it's going to be great. Manny, I hope Amol, I hope that you guys jump into the forums with us when members are talking about it. I think that'd be great.
Absolutely.
And
so how will this happen, Cori? Now you have the videos that Manny and I recorded. Then you're going to like polish up the videos, and during that webinar time, they will be played. and then me and Manny should be available to answer questions. Like, how do you see it happening next?
No, I think when we don't launch the challenge next week, I think you can jump into the forums when those are live.
Oh,
Yeah, absolutely.
sure.
So.
No, I mean,
But,
as far as this video goes, like, what are the next steps? You're going to finish, like, clean it up and then go it live at the particular date? Like, what is the next steps?
Oh no, we're on air, Amol.
Oh, you're on it. Okay, cool.
Yeah. So I think that's great. I think Manny, if we can continue talking about that, and then we're going to do other in this series. We're going to come back and talk about other journeys in the future when we do iterations on this. So, but I do thank you for your time, Nick. I think we're good to go here. Thanks for the questions in the YouTube channel, and I think that's it.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Awesome. Thanks for having us over.
Thank you.
Bye.
Nick.